welcome to the Talent Pool, the place where we get to meet people who are underemployed right now and looking for their next dream job and learn more about them and what's behind the resume. Today, I have a really exciting guest, and probably somebody who is like handled being laid off the most gracefully that I've ever seen in my life. So I'm super excited for you to meet him. Justin, come on out. How are you today?
I am doing well. I'm very nervous. I'm going to let your viewership down whenever you say that I'm a very interesting guest, but I will try my best.
Well, you can get it by osmosis from me. It's fine. Like, I'll tell you my secret. I just make myself laugh until I snort and nobody else thinks I'm funny, but they think that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what people like. So just snort, laugh. It's fine.
Yeah, be the change you wish to see in the world. And if you're laughing at your own jokes, at least one person was entertained.
One person. It's me. And everybody gets to laugh at me while I laugh with me. It's fine. It's fine. Well, welcome to the show, y'all. If you are joining us live today, please pop into the comments, say hi, participate in the conversation. We love to see you there. Chris Hennessy, who is my amazing producer, is not with us today. So you know what that means. It's going to be a little bit of a shit show. Oh, that's what I should have called it. Instead of the talent pool, I should have called it the shit show and just been like, welcome to the shit show.
At least people know what they're getting, and then you can under promise, over deliver every single episode.
Yes, or something like that. Terrifying. So, Justin, like, this news for you is pretty fresh, actually, that you're back on the market and looking for things, but you've kind of seen it coming a little bit. Walk us through kind of like what has your last month or so been like as you've suspected that you might be transitioning?
Yeah, I mean, this is the exact market that I would love to be job searching in as a technical. No, I'm just kidding. We at Strong, my last company, Strong DM, we unfortunately had to do a couple of rounds heading into what was impacted last week. We had all hoped that we'd cut again, and hopefully we'd kind of figured out like what that size was to carry us through 23, 24. Unfortunately, though, we received last week, myself and approximately 39 of my ex-coworkers, the news that it was going to be our last day. Without getting into specifics, there's a severance package, there's the other, personal savings, all that kind of stuff. But especially on the TA side, you kind of can feel it coming before a lot of other people might feel it coming. Your recs start going on freezes, or we need to kind of reorient this candidate profile for the 27th time and figure out like where the person's going to sit on the team. And, it was probably about December into January where we were like, something kind of feels off a little bit here. Again, this is probably not the best time to be seeking a job as a TA professional, but it is what it is. And been on the job market, kind of out there seeing what was behind the scenes for the last 2 to 3 weeks. It's no longer behind the scenes as of last Thursday. It's very much in the front of the scene.
Here you are. You are in the scene right now. I need one of those, like the movie clippers.
The little clapper things. I know it's supposed to like serve a purpose, but all I ever think is like the bloopers where someone fakes that they get their hand stuck in it.
Yeah. Yes. Or like they get their nose done or something like that. But well, hopefully this will just be like a take one. I have to ask you though, is it like you've been on the job market not as a technical recruiter before, like not as a recruiter, right? And now you're on the hunt for a job as a recruiter. How does it change? Like, is it weird being a recruiter and now like trying to find a job for yourself?
Yeah, to be blunt, like it actually has helped a lot with imposter syndrome. Before everything was happening, especially whenever I was seeing people pop up on my LinkedIn feed back over the last like 6 or so months, that like TA teams especially were getting really heavily impacted, even in the early days of like the tech layoffs. I've always had like this imposter syndrome of like, am I actually good at my job? Am I actually like doing a good job as a technical recruiter? Am I giving people good candidate experience? Am I actually finding good people for my company? That sort of thing. And then you find yourself on a job market and you put in applications and you only actually hear back from a no for like 10 or 15% of them. Unfortunately, I've been ghosted already a few times in my own job search, where you have what feels like a great and productive conversation. You send your nice little follow-up of like, really appreciate your time, can't wait for next steps. You send that one more follow-up like a week and a half later after you haven't heard back, after they told you it was be by a certain day. And then you just never hear back. And what it has shown me is that while I would prefer that I was still currently employed, wherever I end up next, I now know for a fact that I am actually a pretty decent recruiter. I feel like I give people pretty good candidate experience, talking through the full application or the interview process and the common benefits, and don't ghost people after the thing. It's a very low bar, but hey, I'm over it.
Right. You're gonna have to limbo under it. You're just gonna like hop over it. How crazy is it that people who are recruiting recruiters are doing such a shitty job at recruiting?
It's unfortunate. I think beyond just like showing myself where I'm at personally from a skill set wise and being able to be a recruiter, like it also has shown me that the things that I took for granted in my workflow are incredibly meaningful for candidates. Like even if I'm telling people no, getting the message back from company X that they saw my application and we're not moving forward, I'm sure that they didn't actually read through every single line of my resume and they're not going to keep me in mind for future opportunities, but I know that they made eye contact, they made a decision, and I can proceed forward instead of like just guessing that maybe they never actually saw it or anything like that.
Right.
I now know for a fact that like the stuff that I did in my workflow as a recruiter means a lot to candidates. Checking in with them, even if we spoke 2 days ago and I don't have a message or an answer back from the hiring manager on if they want to move forward or not, just checking in with them, be like, hey, still working on this. Because as a job seeker now, I feel like I've had probably over a dozen really great first round and second round interviews with companies. And like the anxiety that I have in between the interview rounds, especially if it gets to be like 5 or 6 or 7 days and it starts feeling like I'm getting ghosted, like it just doesn't feel good. Even
Right.
if you have like that first or second round interview, I'm trying to not fall in love at first sight with jobs, because especially in this job market, but like you get attached, you anchor excitement and hopes around this job, and then if you never hear back from anything, it's like, oh, what did I do wrong?
Right.
So like bringing these experiences forward as a recruiter, I think will make me an even better recruiter.
That's amazing. I mean, I love the perspective there. And it's not as if like one of the things that you said to me that just stuck with me, and I love this. I feel like we need to talk to ourselves like this more, is you've said that you feel like that you legitimately did the best work of your life while you were at Strong DM.
Yeah, I mean, I joined Strong DM November of 21. It was a very small recruitment team. I was the second technical recruiter. I was the second recruiter, only real technical recruiter on staff. And I was employee 70-ish. By June of 22, so about 6 to 7 months later, the entire company was at 170. The recruitment team was at 13. We had built out 6 other recruiters, 4 RCs. I recruited my own director of recruitment, and we were ready to get us to 250 by end of year, 400 plus by the end of 23. And the employees that I was part of hiring, I recruited roughly about 50 to 55 headcount while I was at Strong DM,
Yeah.
like net new headcount. And obviously, like recruit or
Yeah,
layoffs have.
a little over a year, right? That you recruited.
Yeah, I mean, we November to end of February, so probably about like 15-ish months.
Yeah.
And to be blunt, like a lot of hiring slowed down in the last 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
So a lot of that was front loaded. RIFs, like layoffs, don't really have anything to do with like the quality of people being laid off. I've almost always, in my experience, I've been a part of layoffs before as part of the team even doing them. I've never been laid off before personally, but I know for a fact that for most companies, who gets cut during a layoff usually has nothing to do with performance, the person themselves. It's just business decisions around teams. It is personally satisfying that like the people that I hired during my time at Strong DM, almost all of them are now, even to this day, still with Strong DM. So they were in business critical roles that for whatever reason just could not be cut. And that feels really good, along with like building a best in class team. I was handling a lot of our ATS automations and like behind the scenes networky TA stuff. And like those sort of systems I know will carry forward even if my time with Strong DM is completely over at this point. It just feels really good to know that during the time that I hoped was going to be 2, 3 years longer, but I still got a lot of really great work done in a year and a half, stuff that I know for a fact I'll use in future roles and hopefully carries on with Strong DM for months and years to come.
That's amazing. I mean, I love that. I love that for you that you get to see those people kind of stay in successful roles, because you don't become a recruiter if you don't really care about
Mhm.
humans and putting them in the right spot, right?
Yeah, my perspective on this job, this career field, it's my second career. I went to school for biology, worked in labs throughout my 20s, managed some lab teams, stuff like that. But I switched into recruitment. And what I've always tried to keep as a lensing is at its core, I'm convincing people to make a drastic life decision. Hopefully, it is for the better. It's going to improve their income, their work life balance, their family situation, their benefits package. If I do it wrong and I do like convince someone to take a role that's not a good fit for them or trick someone into taking a role or something like that, it could have like not only do they have to now go and find another job at the end of whatever number of months or time that they're at the company that I placed them with, it could literally set their career back by years or
Right.
decades. And so I always start as a recruiter making sure it's a fit for the candidate first. And then throughout the interview process that we've built, make sure that it's a good fit for the company because A, makes my job easier if it's a fit for the candidate at the very beginning of the process for them to say yes to our offer. But also, they will be able to really align their skill set throughout the interview process, really show the hiring managers that they're the best fit because they're hopefully going to be really passionate about this role and really excited about it because we verified and made sure it was a good fit on the front end of the process. And that hopefully will carry over to not only them getting placed now, but there were people at Strong DM that I placed in my agency days 3 years ago. They refer me candidates all the time. Hopefully people don't view recruitment as I need to fill this metric and fill this seat. Hopefully they do view it as you are in essence changing someone's life, either just a job, but usually that's going to have a lot of knock-on effects for their life.
Right. And from a company perspective, right? Like I always talk, I talk about this when I teach, which is like, if you have happy employees, so employees who are in the right job for them, who feel supported and all those things, they create happy customers, right? They create raving fans because they're doing this. And if they create happy customers, that creates happy shareholders and that creates happy employees, right? And it goes around in a circle. And I think it's such an important thing for us to remember that if we build out appropriate recruiting processes and put the right people in the right jobs, it impacts every single aspect of the business, as well as the humans who are in the business, which is arguably the most important.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, most of these positions get open because of like the team's bandwidth is constrained. People are working too much. They need to share the load. Products are getting locked because of not enough bandwidth, or you need a specific type of expertise to go out and chase FedRAMP certification or something. I don't know.
Right.
But there's a very specific reason why this role is open. And whenever you fill it, it feels great because you solve that immediate problem. But it is so incredibly expensive for the business if you have to then go and resolve it 6 months later because the person you placed in that role, it wasn't a good fit for them or it wasn't a good fit for the business. And so ensuring that it is a fit for the candidate as well as the business, one, solves the problem more likely in an immediate sense, but also prevents you from having to solve it again in 6 to 12 months down the line. And to your point, whenever you put the best people into it, it's easy for me to quantify it as a person that really enjoys working at like early stage startups because I have an equity grant. It makes it more likely that my equity grant will actually have value and not be monopoly money if we hire the best people.
Right, exactly. So did you realize that this was going to turn into like your masterclass on recruiting instead of us like leveraging our networks to find your job? Although I think it's perfect, right? Because you're out here just showcasing what is amazing about you.
If I start rambling too much, I like am legitimately passionate about recruitment as a job from a candidate specific. Like I probably talked myself out of a couple of jobs throughout my interviewing history because of like I do approach it very candidate centric. And there's certain companies that are very like we just need to fill seats or we need to bill rate for agency recruitment.
Right.
Like there is no type of recruitment that is just wrong unless, in my opinion, you're approaching it not from a candidate centric model. And
Right.
I like to ramble about it.
I love it. I think it's great. You obviously, so what's interesting to me is like how passionate you are about what you're doing kind of at any given moment too, right? Like you said you trained as a scientist, you're a biologist, you were working in labs. You decided to switch to recruitment, which I feel like I want to hear a little bit about that. Like, how do you go from being a biologist to technical recruitment? Like,
Yeah, so the transition was I was in a lab. The agency that we used to staff our lab, the recruiter that I worked with asked like, "Hey, We are looking for a salesperson that's like scientifically trained to be able to talk the talk with our scientific clients. Would you want to come in and take a crack at this? And at the company that I was at before I moved into recruitment, what I really loved most about that job was like helping junior lab technicians and junior scientists like kind of figure out their career and what they want to do next and what does the job market actually look like for your skill set and your degree and all these things. What I really hated was the mountain of paperwork and the agency regulatory red tapes you had to do for every single thing in your job. So ended up taking a crack at the scientific staffing on the sales side. I am deathly allergic to B2B sales. I hate that workflow, hate it so much. Getting people to sign contracts and negotiating pricing and figuring out who has to pay an invoice and please pay us our invoice. No, but I really enjoyed it. Kelly, that was my first staffing role. Whenever we would bring in like a really niche type of scientific role, because of my training, I would take a crack at like full desk, and I loved that. Recruitment is still sales at its core. You can still define it as a sales role.
Everything is sales, really.
But the value prop is different because, again, what we talked about earlier with it being candidate centric, hopefully you are selling them something that is better. And so I really enjoyed that element, and then got a crack at a focused recruitment role that happened to be in the IT world. I like to think of myself as nerdy. I like to really understand the things that I'm recruiting for beyond like keywords and buzzwords. So I moved into technical recruitment and taught myself how to code. I've got my AWS Cloud Practitioner certification, so I can talk to technical candidates, establish credibility, and evaluate a little bit better. It's just, I've really quickly fallen in love with talking to that type of candidate that likes to tinker with things and solve hard and unsolved before problems. And it's just a really cool world to me.
I love it. I'll tell you, when I first started working at Duckbill Group, so like my main gig, what I do is we do contract negotiation and cost optimization for AWS. And so but I didn't know anything about this world before I came in. And at one point I made a joke and I was like, oh, a Kubernetes cluster, is that the one that's drizzled in caramel and you dunk it in your coffee?
I do like that rebranding. And now that's going to be in my head now every time I interview a candidate.
Forever. That's it. So I feel like I need to release my own line of Kubernetes clusters, candies, something. I can picture them in my head. They're like Girl Scout cookies. So I was actually going to ask you about that, how you taught yourself coding and got your AWS Cloud Cert. And you did that literally just so you could speak the language of your candidates and have a better idea of like where they were going to fit in the organization.
Yeah, I mean, my first technical recruitment role about 5 or so years ago, I knew that there was a difference between Java and JavaScript, but I didn't actually know beyond the fact that there were 5 different letters at the end of JavaScript than there was at Java. So like I actually wanted to know what these people were doing. That's kind of how I work backwards is whenever I was working in labs, I would work backwards based on like what does a regulatory affairs specialist or a chemist or a QA QC technician, like what do they actually do in these labs? And then that way we can start interviewing people. And then I transitioned that into my work as a recruiter. I wanted to know like, what does a front-end engineer actually do? What does a back-end engineer actually do? What the hell is DevOps? Like what does a data scientist, like what is an ETL and what is a data lake? And is it literally just a pond with data floating in it? Like what do these people do? So I taught myself very basic Python, very basic JavaScript. I can break a website. I can build a temperature conversion calculator. I can sit in on engineering talks and like lunch and learns and stuff like that and kind of understand what they're talking through whenever they're talking through like orchestration tools and different sort of like cloud ecosystems and architecture structures. And especially getting the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification, that was while I was at StrongDM, very cloud heavy product. I wanted to be able to establish credibility with some of these engineers that they probably had dozens, hundreds of recruiter interviews where the recruiter is just like yelling keywords at them, like how many years of experience of Lambda do you have? And they're like, and they could give you no answer on like what a Lambda script actually is. Like I wanted to be able to talk through with candidates at a deeper level. And I think candidates can pick up on whenever a recruiter like actually understands like what product focused engineering is and what different types of engineers do at a product focused company. And not only does it let me do my job better, but I think the conversations that I get to have with candidates, for me personally, are just more fun.
Right. Yeah. So I tried to do the same thing with Duckbill. I still try to do it, but the closest I can get is like every day I ingest Java.
I like that.
And that's it. That's what I got. Yeah. No, same though. I love that. So tell me, we're like coming to the end of our time, and I want to make sure that we put the focus back on like finding you your next dream position. And like,
Mhm.
because I know you loved your work at Strong DM. I know you loved your manager at Strong DM. And so like, how can we find that for you? Can you tell us a little bit more about like, what's your dream? Like, what do you want to be when you grow up, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I snap my fingers. I have the best job in the universe tomorrow. It is a fully remote technical recruiting role for like a software or a tech focused company that's like really software engineering heavy. That's what I'm best at recruiting. That said, I have at this stage of my career at Strong DM, I recruited our general counsel and our corporate secretary, some finance, some marketing, some sales, some customer success. Same thing at CodeTool, same thing at Quest. We did all kinds of staffing. At this stage, I would be like, I've even done mechanical engineering and HVAC technicians and those types of roles. What I enjoy most, I don't care about the industry. I don't really care about like what their product does or anything like that. At the end of the day, what I want to have is interesting conversations with candidates. And if that's mid, senior level, it could be entry level, depending on like the skill set. It is a recruiting role where I'm handling like specialized skill sets and I can really dig into like what these people do, what they own, what they're passionate about, what they do in their day-to-day work, like what do they want to do, so I can then work backwards for whatever company I'm recruiting for. If that's in manufacturing, if that's in semiconductors, if that's in food production, if that's in software as a service, tech, cybersecurity, great. I just like talking to really smart candidates and figuring out creative ways that they can work at my company I work for.
That's amazing. I love that. Y'all heard it here. Justin is on the market and ready to come in and find you the best employees ever. But more than that, y'all, it doesn't matter if you are in a company that can help Justin or not. Connect with him because he's a badass person. And I told you that you were going to be a very interesting guest. So nailed it.
Do I have like 2 minutes to plug something really quick?
Yes, do whatever you
Uh,
want.
on my LinkedIn page, so at Strong DM, one thing that we put together in the last like 3 to 4 months of our time there was our Meet with a Recruiter project. Myself and the other recruiter that was on the team were meeting with people either impacted with layoffs, they've just been on the job market for a while, maybe they're career switching, or they've been on 6 years of maternity leave. Like anyone that's like really wanting to talk through their job search strategy, resume reviews. We did that for free, and I'm carrying that over into my job search. I am very privileged to be in a position where severance, personal savings, I don't need to find a job tomorrow. If you have a job for me, though, I would love to talk about it tomorrow. If you have something that I can do, but I can take my time with my job search and the time that I can meet with. I'm meeting with at least 3 to 4 people a day, or at most 3 to 4 people a day. As many people sign up, I'll be posting my Calendly link on my personal LinkedIn page. This is 30 minutes. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. And if you want to meet my corgis, Carl and Bill, for 30 minutes, we can do that too. But if
Wait,
you
is
want to
that an
talk,
option?
yeah,
Right.
it's literally on the Calendly form. Oh, right now they're somewhere in the other room. I hid them so they did not bark too much.
You didn't put that on your prep form, or else this would have not been the Justin show. Sorry.
I guess you'll have to have me back on for just like a webcam stream of like
Yeah,
the corgis on the rug in the living room.
that's amazing. We'll make that a Club Fuck It Bucket event,
Of
and
course.
that's it. We'll just have corgi bums and literally nothing else.
It's like those panda webcams at zoos. It'll just be like two little burritos playing with squeaky toys.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I love it. All right. So I just put that up there. So if you go to your LinkedIn, choose connect with a recruiter, you can spend some time with Justin, playing with his corgis, getting insights, talking through things. And like, this is the literal definition of pick your brain, right? Like if you have ever wanted to send a message to a recruiter that says, can I pick your brain? This is it. So
And I pinky promise I'm not trying to sell you on a service or a newsletter or anything like that. Just I've got some time on my hands, unfortunately, and want to try to help some folks. Rising tide, etc. Metaphor.
right. Insert metaphor or malapropism here. It's totally fine. I love that. I love the fact that you're doing that. It brings me so much joy, and it's so helpful. So everyone, connect with Justin. Spend some time with him on the Connect a Recruiter. And if you have any leads for him, send him out there. But if not, like obviously he's just a good human and somebody you want to have in your network and have in your corner. So Justin, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you. Tomorrow, I think we're back with Ray. They had some issue. Is that right? No, Thursday we're back with Ray. They had some issues last week with their connection. So we get to meet them again, which is really exciting. And if you are underemployed, looking for your next dream job, please slide into my DMs, sign up for a half hour with us here on Alive, and let us get to see the person behind the resume. Thanks, y'all. See you next time.
Thanks, April.
I said that, but I forgot to press the little thing to where I could get to the video to do the outro. This is why it's so important for me to have Chris here. Okay, here we go for real. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.